Everyone knows how important it is to read books when you're trying to learn something. What's often not fully appreciated is how important it is to find really good books. Reading books is a lot like drilling for oil. If you're drilling in the wrong place, it's almost worthless. But when you find a really good well, the value is immense. And there's tons and tons of variation. And a lot of the most important work is in exploring to find the good spots. There's a lot of different ways you can use to find good books and to judge which books are worth your time to read before you go all the way through reading a book or most of a book to find out. When you're trying to do this, a lot of what you're trying to do is to figure out what the author is trying to do and what the author is good at. There's a lot of very obvious clues, often including just the book's title. If you see something that's called Breakthrough, How the Tea Cozy Transformed British Society, then you're probably looking at something where the author is trying to sell a cool story and advance their career or something. Whereas if you find something that's more like tea cozies in the Victorian era, then it's more likely that the author is trying to inform about something that they're very interested in, and this is often a better place to start. You'll want to be very wary of popularizations and pop history. I've found that these books are often pretty unreliable, often make sweeping statements that don't hold up. And it's pretty easy to tell which types of books are going to fall into this category. Another clue that you can use in evaluating books is checking their citations. And you don't necessarily have to look at everything they cite in depth, but if you just get a sense of where the book is drawing from, you can learn a lot about what the author is trying to do and how they're going about it. For example, I can't even remember how many books I've looked at that are about ancient Rome, and everything that they cite was written after 2000. And this is not a good sign. It indicates that maybe the author is more interested in participating in academic discourse than in understanding Rome, or maybe they just don't know how to do good research. But regardless, it's not a good way to learn about ancient Rome. Bibliographies are also extremely useful for identifying further sources. I'll often get a book that I know I'm not going to read just to go through the bibliography and find things that look like they're closer to what I care about, or like they're a better version of the thing that the book that I know how to find is trying to do. And this sort of bibliography crawling is a good way of starting with an okay book in an area, and then after a couple of iterations, triangulating towards a really, really good book that's better than any of the things that cite it. This is one of my favorite techniques for identifying things to start with. The only thing that's better is recommendations from people you trust, where you don't want to read something just because people say it's good, but if it's good and it's on a subject that you're actually trying to investigate, that's a really good sign. In general, you don't want to just be reading things because they're popular or because they're talked about a lot. It's important to have specific things that you're trying to answer. This doesn't have to be a super focused thing. It can just be like, I'm trying to understand an area better. But if you have an idea of what you're trying to get, rather than just trying to read good books or read important books, then you will do a much better job of finding the books that actually move your understanding forward than if you're just trying to do a general survey. This sort of learning by picking an area, it can be a very specific area or a very general area, and trying to move forward in it, is usually much more powerful than general or undirected curiosity, because it's much easier to tell whether you're making progress. And this is important to keep in mind, not just with books, but with any way of learning a subject. I'm Ben Landau-Taylor. I work with Bismarck Analysis. Thank you for watching this video, and please subscribe.